Hello friends, welcome to CEC Live Lectures. Dear friends, with our ongoing series on disaster management, today we are conducting the last and important lecture under this series, that is disaster management. Today we are going to talk on education and role of youth in disaster management. And for the discussion on the topic, we have with us in our studios Professor R.B. Singh. Professor R.B. Singh is a renowned professor of geography and he is associated with the Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi. Dear friends, Professor R.B. Singh's immense experience in his area always helps us to enlighten ourselves with the different topics of geography, and we believe that today also we are going to have a vivacious session. Friends, if you wish to ask questions from Professor R.B. Singh on today's topic, then do call us through our toll-free number. Our number is 1800110430. I repeat, our number is 1800110430. You are requested to call in the last 10 minutes of the lecture. Now, I would like to welcome our guest, Professor R.B. Singh, once again. Hello, sir. Welcome to the lecture.
Thank you, Gitka ji. Welcome, viewers. As we are going to discuss very important topic related to disaster management, focusing on education, curriculum, and role of youth. As you know, worldwide we know that disasters are increasingly becoming more and more vulnerable to natural disasters. Nearly 3 million people worldwide may have been killed in past 20 years due to various type of natural disasters like flooding, cyclone, earthquake, snow avalanches, cyclone, landslides, etc. 90% of the natural disaster and 95% of the total disaster related events worldwide occur in developing countries, in which India has the second largest share. So you can understand from your own perception how world is becoming increasingly vulnerable to natural disaster. I would like to start with academic response to HYGO framework of action, and then I will come to the DRR, Sendai framework of DRR. So you know, first we have the Yokohama framework, then HYGO framework, and then Sendai framework. Academic responses include reviewing and monitoring of existing risk management practices and framework at all levels, relief and emergency response, particularly assisting the disaster affected people for their rehabilitation. We have to develop guidelines defining minimum standards of relief are being developed, and disaster management authority are encouraged to review these codes and prepare disaster standards and various type of criteria for relief in conformity with the natural disaster. A state disaster management authority are also supposed to develop post-disaster recovery and reconstruction framework. Now, why we need this disaster education? World Conference on Disaster Reduction of 2005 in Kobe, you know, after Kobe was also very severely affected by the earthquake, emphasizes the need for formal education and education policy. Thematic group tells three tells synergy of field-based knowledge and implementation-oriented multidisciplinary approaches. Expanding field of disaster management but lacking supply of young professionals. Significant changes have been observed after the Indian Ocean tsunami of 2004. Through this diagram, I would like to bring before you the linkages between disaster, environment and development. Disasters, it may be natural disaster, human disaster and displacement. Development related to water, health, education, communication, poverty, etc. Then we have the environment, where we have to deal with built environment, air, water, then sea, land, and for what purpose? We have to reduce the risk and then enhancing the livelihood. Higher education should develop understanding and linkages between all three, like a disaster, environment and development. I would like to bring before you the various type of evidences of global environmental change. As you know, sea level rise 17 centimeter in last century, global temperature rise 10 warmest year in last 12 years, warming ocean we are getting since 1969, rise of 0.302 degree Fahrenheit, shrinking of ice sheet, particularly the Greenland and Antarctica ice sheets have decreased in mass. Same thing also happening in Indian scenarios, and particularly in some part in the Uttarakhand Himalaya, we are getting the more such sign and signals. So, glacier retreat in Himalaya, increasing extreme events in worldwide. Now, here you can see through this diagram the CO2 increase triggered the global environmental change, and through this graph you will be able to understand that the how after the 1950 we have a very substantial increase of CO2 level. So, this diagram produced by NASA, that the atmospheric CO2 has increased since the industrial revolution. So, considering this, what should be the content of disaster management? We have to reduce, prevent if possible the potential losses from hazards, assure prompt and appropriate assistance to victims when and wherever necessary, achieve rapid and durable recovery. It is very important to start with educating disaster management cycle. This cycle is a very, very important. Particularly, we have three phases: pre-disaster, where we have more warning, preparedness, prevention. Then we have the during disaster, and during disaster we know we need some emergency response, rescue and relief, and then we have the post disaster, where we have to focus on rehabilitation and reconstruction. Now, what we should teach? And first we have to understand elements at risk, and then innovation needed from higher education in these areas. Who are at risk? People, livestock, generally we forget livestock, and we have to focus on the livestock management, rural housing stock, houses, crop, trees, telephone, electric poles, boats, looms, working implements, personal property, electricity, water and food supply, and infrastructure support. I would like to put before you disaster scenario of India. Very broadly, I would like to take review. India amongst the most disaster prone region. Total 85% of geographical areas are affected by this. 26 out of 36 states are affected by frequent disasters. 58.6% land vulnerable to earthquake. 60% 8% cultivated area is prone to drought, 8.5% land vulnerable to cyclone. We have almost 570 kilometer out of 7,516 kilometer of coastline, 12% land vulnerable to floods. So, floods in the Indo-Gangetic Brahmaputra plains are the annual ordeals, annual feature, and on average few hundred lives are lost every year, million rendered almost homeless every year, 50% area is prone to landslides. Now, I would like to put before you the map of flood hazard. You can see here that the how particularly Assam, West Bengal, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and then some part of the Punjab are how affected by this problem. Then we have the coastal area and some Gujarat area. But recent time we are getting lot of flooding problem in urban flooding, what I would like to say. Urban flooding, what occurred in Srinagar, you know, you will remember. We have seen the Chennai flood, Delhi experiencing, almost is experiencing every year some flooding in low-lying area. Some city of Rajasthan also faced such type of the problem. And in this context, we have the problem coming from the outside like a highland lowland interactive system. Many such problems are coming through the instability in the Himalaya. But here I would like to bring before you local factor of Kosi flood. Now you can see that the how that the this Kosi river passing meeting to Ganga, and now you can see there was a break in barrage and dike, and then the due to changing course of the Kosi, we had faced large area under flood. So, this one is a very critical local factors, how the damage of dike can bring devastation in the area. Here you can see wind and cyclone hazard map, and all eastern coasts are very vulnerable, very high vulnerability to cyclone. And also once we had also faced the problem of tsunami. Then we have also some probability of GLOF like glacier lake outburst flood, particularly in the Sikkim area and Himachal Pradesh. So, I would like to review here disaster management curriculum, particularly I would like to see the trend, and on this trend we will try to propose broader curriculum and also the component in disaster management. During 80s, more and more engineering aspects, part of civil engineering curriculum, technical know-how, not management issue. 1990s, awareness raising and short-term training courses were organized, bringing prevention and preparedness issue in the training. But the more focus given after 2004, where we brought in our curriculum many places, at least one paper we have on disaster management in geography syllabus, also in civil engineering, social work department. But universities are getting interested more and more, and in this context presently I would like to tell you, recently UGC asked all university to start a disaster management cell. This is a very important step taken by the government, Ministry of HRD and UGC, to start a disaster management. Such cell, responsibility of cell, be introducing the curriculum in a different program or different subject, and there should be the one an interdisciplinary program also. What are the priority issues? Activating the early warning system, integrating scientific, technical and administrative agency, so management aspects, terrestrial communication link with collapse in the event of a rapid onset of disaster, vulnerability of critical infrastructures, power supply, communication, water supply, transport during the disaster events, preparedness and mitigation very often ignored, lack of integrated efforts, so we have to collect and compile data, need for standardization efforts in compiling and interpreting geospatial data, satellite imagery and warning signals. Weak area continue to be the forecasting, modeling, risk prediction, simulation and scenario exercise. In the absence of national level, state level, district level directory of experts, so we have to do the inventory of resources. Absence of no doubt we have the national disaster plan, but what many states should have a state plan or district level disaster management plan based on our national a disaster management plan already released by NDMA, prepared by NDMA and released by our Honorable Prime Minister. Sustainability of efforts needed, effective interagency coordination, emergency medicine, critical care medicine, first aid, and recently many steps taken, particularly the reducing the cost of the medicine by the government. This is a very important step. Absent of a effective agency coordination is also very important. Here you can see I am putting before you a multi-hazard map, and what I would like to tell, most of the time we used to consider the biophysical aspects, seismic aspects, geological aspects. More focus also should be given for socio-economic aspects in disaster education. Many innovation came like earthquake, digitization of maps, upgrading of topographical sheets, drawing seismic zones, seismological centers, building earthquake resistance building, real-time earthquake monitoring, in flood forecasting, flood zonation map, calculate river and sea erosion. In drought we are able to determine the aridity index, invention of drought resistance crop we got, developing micro irrigation network, and while coming to tsunami and cyclone we prepared the hazard zonation map, early warning, prediction, seawater groundwater interaction. In this context, I would like to bring before you the very important role of geospatial technology, particularly in ICT, information and communication technology, geographic information system, remote sensing and global positioning system. So, disaster prevention and preparedness measures, information and research network. So, we have to deal with the comprehensive process of vulnerability analysis in objective risk assessment, building a robust sound information database, creating a state-of-art infrastructure, and linking the all knowledge-based institution. Now, here you can see I am bringing here the all knowledge networking, National Bureau of Soil Survey and Land Use Planning, Survey of India, NRSA, National Informatics Sector, Center Water Commission, Forest Survey of India, IMD, Botanical Survey of India, National Natural Resource Management System, Natural Resource Data Management System, Urban Body, Geological Survey of India, NATMO, Central Groundwater Board, ISRO, CPCB, Census of, all we have to link under the educational network and knowledge network, and they can play a very important role. Here you can see the Government of India emergency communication during and post disaster, and several plan has been fixed. I would like to bring before you, we have to bring a safety culture through education. How you can do? We can link the education, research and action. Education will be based on research. So, education, research, education, linkages, and then we will have the more and more action. Address the problems from the field, the local level, identifying the local knowledge. Cultural calibration of technology, particularly the local context of any issue, involve wider stakeholders. People and community should own problems and solution, not only the problem but also the solution. Prevention in daily lives, synergy in environment of disaster, maintaining the self-help and cooperation and education. So, objectives should be dissemination and application of knowledge, adaptation and available quality, content, the process. These are the creating a new knowledge, and then through new knowledge we can bring opportunity and the quality human resource manpower, particularly in disaster management. Many disciplinary research like anthropology, social work, geography, geology, economics, psychology, communication, education and management can come to help in improving our complex disasters. We have to shift from post disaster response to pre-disaster mitigation and preparedness, preparation of risk map, spreading disaster awareness, disaster response, and for this we have to several type of approaches: traditional relief approach, sustainable development approach, vulnerability reduction approach, total disaster risk management approach, vulnerability to resilience approach, and community based disaster management approach. In principle, flexible and customized, particularly the model in a regular master and graduate program, limited period diploma program, postgraduate degree program. We have to do the market research, need and interest of the potential student. We have to link with the future job market. Then we have to bring also the multidisciplinary aspects, where we have to take the combination of different faculty like science, engineering, architects, economics, education, agriculture. So, we have to balance theory and field experience. So, this is a very, very important program, and internship program we have to develop, particularly involving the government, NGO, UN agency, private sector, research institute, and then really we will be able to promote the disaster education curriculum, a management curriculum, what not only I would like to call it a interdisciplinary, but it may be the transdisciplinary. Thank you.
Hello friends, welcome back to this session. Friends, as you know that today we are talking on education and role of a youth in disaster management, and for the discussion on the topic we have with us in our studios Professor R.B. Singh. Professor R.B. Singh is a renowned professor of geography. Through him we always get in-depth knowledge on various topics of geography. Friends, if you wish to ask questions from Professor R.B. Singh on today's topic, then do call us through our toll-free number. Our number is 1-800-110-430. I repeat, our number is 1-800-110-430. Now, I would like to welcome our guest, Professor R.B. Singh, once again. Hello, sir. Welcome to the lecture.
Thank you, Gitka ji. Welcome, viewers. We are discussing the education, how we can develop the interdisciplinary program at the university level, where people from geography, geology, social work, anthropology, psychology, they can join together and develop an integrated program. We have a very important step coming from the government recently, asking our university to start a disaster management cell, because we realize that every states are facing more or less one or another disaster. Then 85% of the total geographical area are also affected by this process. So this should become not only the formal but informal, and here I would like to quote our father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi ji. He told, education for life, education through life, and education throughout life. So this, what here I would like to bring before you, functional literacy. I think disaster management should play an important role of functional literacy for creating awareness, education, and then bring action. Education will bring awareness in the society, and awareness will bring action. Then we will have the more and more participation. No doubt, we have almost 356 million people between age of 10 to 24 years. India has the world's largest young population, despite having a smaller population than China. With 269 million young people, China has second largest young population, followed by Indonesia 67 million, US 65 million, Pakistan 59 million, Nigeria 57 million, Brazil 51 million, and Bangladesh 48 million, according to the United Nations Population Fund. So now you can understand that we have almost more than 100 million people, young people, more than China. And if you compare the other like Indonesia, US, Pakistan, then even we have more than 5 times. So what should be the role of young scientists? Young scientists from various disciplines within the cross-cutting field of disaster risk reduction have potential to enable an effective, sustainable, and evidence-based implementation and monitoring of the Sendai framework. Young scientists are pushing the boundary of research and its context a specific application for improved decision-making process across a spatial and temporal scale through science and policy interface. Innovative and creative capacity of the younger generation should be utilized to ensure that good practices, successful story with scientific base are used to support decision makers. Then we have the education, awareness, and action. Potential contribution of young scientists in the implementation, monitoring, and review of Sendai framework needs recognition to ensure the resilient society. Now, I would like to bring before you necessity of disaster awareness building. It is very necessary because the value of showcasing knowledge on good practices from young scientist community on their current potential research contribution to effective implementation and monitoring. Discuss challenges and solutions for engaging more and more young people in the evidence-based implementation and monitoring. Discuss the network, platforms and partnership the young scientists in DRR platform will interface with, including UNISDR Science and Technology Advisory Group, International Council for Science and Social Science, particularly I would like to mention IRDR, International Global IAP, that is a global network of science academy, inter-academy partnership, university and others. It is very important to discuss the UNISDR Science and Technology roadmap via young scientists in DRR platform and particularly address the need for capacity development and sharing research approaches. Challenges and possible solution. Reviewing the existing mechanism and opportunity for young scientists to engage in the application of science for DRR. Particularly, I would like to UN Youth, UN Major Group of Children and Youth, ICSU, University, Research Institution, Professional and Learned Society, Civil Society, Youth and Community-led organization. Identify various ways in which young can contribute more effectively to the science and technology in DRR. And actually, in January 2016, a very important event was organized at UNISDR Geneva, and more recently in November 2017, again a important meeting at Tokyo, particularly looking the science and technology aspects for promoting disaster resilience society. To discuss the challenges and barriers for young scientists in DRR participation and active involvement of Sendai framework. It is very important to facilitate interdisciplinary and intergenerational knowledge exchange, collaboration and engagement for young scientists to participate in applying science in disaster risk reduction. In this way, we can build the partnership with the youth-led organization or platform UNISDR stake, particularly for capacity building, mentoring activity and for sharing research and professional opportunity for young DRR scientists under different global initiatives like Sustainable Development Goals, COP21, Habitat 3. I would like to mention here that scientific community should also identify different interactive areas. Like for science to implementation, ICSU has prepared a very important document taking the interactive area, how interaction taking place between 17 goals and 169 targets. Promote the collaboration and collation of existing knowledge from young sighting, research thesis publication, database, and we have to link with policy briefing document. Such policy briefing document should be collected and also communicated to different stakeholders in policy making, and encourage future research initiative for filling the science gap identified by actors of the roadmap. So, what are the way forward? 3 priority areas for young scientists in DRR program that require investment are: priority activity 1, I quote, enable a stronger youth involvement in the intergovernmental processes on indicators, monitoring and review at global level and national indicators at country level. Priority action 2, outreach activity at all level to mobilize youth and university and science and policy like debates, Twitter chat, webinars and competition. Priority activity 3, to develop thematic teams of young scientists from varied disciplines to share knowledge through joint publication and promote DRR at regional and national level. How we can change the perception among youth towards DRR? I would like to mention here that the Mapping Neighborhood project should be promoted at school, colleges and university level. Different disciplines should come up with a adequate field work and credit based field work, so that students are asked to prepare mapping the neighborhood, identifying the risk elements, local risk elements and also the possible solution, establishing and training youth brigades for bringing innovation and creativity in DRR at various levels. Cultural elements, creativity, ethics, these are the very important linkages for management of disaster risk assessment, particularly for preparedness and awareness generation at community, individual and regional level. Promoting evidence based low cost skill practices among youth scientists for DRR. Improving youth networking platform for DRR at regional, national and local level. So, different type of the youth organization should be created by the government through Ministry of Youth Welfare. So, we will have and we should have also the support from the different discipline for training them. Many initiative privately or the government level already done, global learning and observations to benefit the environment. NASA, USA, over 50,000 schools over the world, of which 86 are in India, are enrolled for the GLOBE program. Divya Shikhar Smriti Vidyalaya Lucknow had set up a small weather monitoring station in their school. This is a small thing, but it is a very important, particularly for improving our understanding about weather. Like I would like to give you the example. If any researcher is interested to work on Delhi, they have to rely on the government data for weather, temperature or rainfall. Only from 2 places you can get, Safdarganj and Palam. So, different institutions should come up own weather station, so that we can improve our understanding about the microclimate of any city. We have install one with a small grant in our geography department, University of Delhi. Children use the station to maintain temperature, cloud charts, measure rainfall, gather weather related information from the globe website. The data is then used to forecast worldwide weather trends and to develop environmental protocols. Now, I would like to give a blueprint of a interdisciplinary program at the university level. Here you can see University Interdisciplinary Educational Unit, and here we have to incorporate pre-disaster, during disaster and post-disaster. What will be the component? Prediction, prevention, preparedness, rescue and relief, rehabilitation and monitoring. This Institute of Disaster Management Study should have all this pre, during and post disaster component. Now, how the different discipline can contribute to this? Faculty of Science can help in prediction, forecasting, monitoring. Faculty of Engineering can help in building materials, building a structure and engineering a structure. Faculty of Social Science, particularly the socio-economic vulnerability, communication and awareness, community based management, psychological rehabilitation, sustainable development and spatial information technology based risk assessment or vulnerability assessment. We can start with 1-year diploma, master program and MPhil and PhD program. So, what will be curriculum? What should be curriculum on disaster management? The nature and types of hazards is a very important. Natural and man-made disaster and need of their management efforts related to mechanism, preparedness, mitigation, different type of driving forces. Then role of community and schools in disaster management. Then partnership with various government and non-governmental agency. Particularly here also I would like to bring before you CSR, corporate social responsibility, use of modern and scientific technology to combat disaster, and then survival skills. Then disaster management in education and capacity building. We have, it is very important to have the amendment in affiliation bylaws of school and colleges to put place in disaster mitigation personnel and infrastructure. Particularly I would like to mention here, we should have a close relationship with disaster response force. Training for school administrative staff to undergo safety related programs and schedules at the school and colleges. Alertness is very important. I would like to tell you, any seminar, symposium we go and sit, we do not anticipate that how many doors we have to go out from any place where you are sitting. If something happens, I think we should have knowledge that the how many doors a particular room has. When you are at the relative place, when we are traveling, when you are driving car, what type of do's and do not. That is why role of media is very important, and we must involve also the media, particularly for promoting and creating awareness. curriculum introduction and change at all level in the school and the colleges is very important. Now, I would like to put before you here associated discipline in disaster management. You see, geography, vulnerability is determined by use of hazard prone areas. Meteorology, vulnerability is due to lack of advanced warning of severe weather. Engineers, they can see the vulnerability occurs when structure and infrastructure cannot withstand the forces of hazards. Anthropology can see vulnerability emanates from constraining values, attitude and practices. Economists particularly can see the inability to prevent, prepare or recover from a disaster. Sociology, they can see the behavior related to race, gender, age, disability, particularly vulnerable groups. Psychology, vulnerability is a function of overlooking of minimizing risk and not being able to cope emotionally with stress and loss. Then we have to bring epidemiology, environmental science, particularly related to diseases, malnutrition, another factor. Environmental science looking the environmental degradation, political science looking the political and also the decision making, incorrect decision making. Public administration related to misguided law, implementing the policy. Law is very also important aspects like a failure to act as a reason or legal statute dictate. Journalism, particularly vulnerability result of insufficient public awareness about hazards, and emergency management is a lack of capacity to perform important function before and after disaster, particularly the evacuation, search and rescue, public information and homeland security like a home security related to the home ministry. As you know, this our disaster is also part of that due to cultural misunderstanding, permissible burden, fragile infrastructure with disaster management institution. So, professions, I would like to bring before you here different professions active in various phases of disaster. For disaster, take example of drought, climatology. For prevention, climatology and agronomist. For mitigation, agronomist, agricultural engineers and water engineers. Preparedness planning, water engineers, agronomists, nutritionists. Emergency, nutrition specialists, physician, nurses, social workers. Reconstruction, agronomists, engineers, water engineers. If you take the earthquake, then mitigation, architects, engineers, contractors. So these are discipline wise. In flood, we have the more role of the engineer, planners, architect. Hurricanes, also the engineer and physician, meteorologist. Volcano, more planners. Insect infection, particularly the environmentalist, entomologist, climatologist, agricultural extension people, chemical engineers. Capacity building is a very, very important aspect, and many government or international agencies are promoting this, particularly in technical and medical education. Technical education cover all aspects of the saving life and property, and medical education covers the prevention and saving the life, human and animals, human health care, emergency medicine, scientific mock drills, hospital preparedness plans, mental health, psychosocial support and rehabilitation. Here you can see some researches by educational institute in India, particularly on cyclones in West Bengal, disaster in Bihar, Jammu and Kashmir earthquake, rapid assessment of impacts and needs. Then on flood also they have Chennai flood, many agencies brought out such type of the report based on the interdisciplinary team, state and civil society in disaster response, particularly Tamil Nadu tsunami experience. So, in this way many such initiative taken. I would like to identify the major factors for mitigating disaster, particularly contribution from higher education, and prevention is one, insurance is one, structural reinforcement is one. So, recent initiative of prevention mitigation in East Japan tsunami affected area should be replicated in other country and disaster events. These are the very, very important awareness mechanism, and I would like to give you example. Like here you can see that the how from the saving from the flooding or from the tsunami or cyclone, such type of a structure can be very, very helpful and create the awareness. Here you can see for the small magnitude, low magnitude tsunami problem, but I would like to bring before you here that these days we are getting low probable and high impact disasters. Low probability. You see there is Chennai, you see the flooding in Rajasthan or even in flooding in Kashmir, all low probability but high impact. So, I think our strategy must be, or educational curriculum must be same way. Here you can see this different type of aspects. Here you can see tsunami inundation section sign. Such type of the sign is very, very important, particularly for creating awareness. In Japan tsunami affected area, this type of tsunami sign means if you are going further by car or by walk 1990 meter we have safe place. If we will have go 1610 meter in backside, then we will have the safe place, then people will go to the such nearest area where they can get the safety. Here you can see the how livelihood opportunities have been created by post tsunami affected people, and people from different part of the country, they come for purchasing because they are the victim of the tsunami, East Japan tsunami affected area, and in this way I think the livelihood opportunity available. Here you can see the preventing vegetation cover for reducing the tsunami risk. So, such type of educational component is very, very important, should become the part of our curriculum, starting from the school level and 10th level or 11th level. We have prepared some document also, but the educational, the more and more awareness building component is more needed, because now we can improve our understanding about different type of disaster and driving forces. Here you can see in the Pacific coast preventive measures for reducing tsunami risk in the different layer. They have constructed the road, then the shelter belt, plantation, to different type of safety. Here you can see use of solar energy, because energy requirement is very, very important. Solar energy, spatial information technology is very, very important. Standardization, law and privacy, visualization information, I think very important. Here I would like to put before you prospective and future plans submitted to United Nations Global Geospatial Information Management. This actually we are submitted on behalf of the International Geographical Union. The meeting will take place in Newark in August, early August. An artificial neural network model for estimative crop yield, because in large area for livelihood we need the precision agriculture. Information and communication technology to be introduced for precision agricultural practices, fishing, forest fire, hazard warning, development of a special library particularly for collecting the unmanned aerial vehicles, particularly drone, can be very, very important based on the hyperspectral data. Then preparation of the multi-temporal and multi-spectral geospatial gaps. So these should become the part of the curriculum. Analysis of field data for agro-advisory services, continue attention to microwave, remote sensing, and finally I would like to conclude that disaster education provides opportunity to access and monitor complete socio-biophysical characteristics of Earth, taking into consideration of geomorphology, climatology, oceanography. Then we can bring the spatial information technology like remote sensing, GIS, drone related data. Then finally this output of the various spatial analysis can also be used for mapping and mapping neighborhood and mapping visualization. Through the better visualization, map visualization can be very, very helpful. This is a process visualizing all steps for decision making for Earth's resources and phenomena, and desired output can be represented through the cartographic and digital or non-cartographic method, and such will be very, very helpful in decision making and for improving our understanding. So education is key to sustainable development. Thank you.
With this note, thank you, sir. Thank you so very much for giving us this session. Friends, we are going to meet again very soon. Till then, take care. Goodbye.